Max?
Yes, sir.
Hit that area. It's time for Monday Morning Fallout. Monday Morning Fallout, of course, when we overreact to everything from the football weekend. It was a huge weekend of action, so there's plenty to overreact to. I've got my overreacting shoes on.
Oh, man.
I am ready to overreact.
I'm ready for you to overreact, too.
We're going to do 3 big thoughts. First thought is bracketology.
This is the fun part.
Said it before, say it again, texasfootball.com/playoffs. We have every bracket, and there are 704. There's 704 teams that are in the playoffs, getting cut in half every day.
Yeah.
Every week, getting cut in half. You can see the brackets, and that's what I spent the weekend doing. I spent the weekend, Matt Stepp spent the weekend just getting all that information and being a psychopath. But
yes, he is a football cyborg.
But what I did was start looking through the brackets and start looking at the path that everyone would have to walk.
Yeah, it's nice to see it all laid out in front of you this time of year.
Yeah. That it's kind of nebulous beforehand, and now it's firm. We know what it is, and we know who you're going to have to beat in order to make it to AT&T Stadium. So we've been thinking it through and figuring it out. We're going to have our predictions up on the site. I believe we're going to do it Wednesday is when we're going to announce, or we're going to put out our predictions. But this is the fun time of year for us. And so texasfootball.com/playoffs is where you can find brackets, all the matchup information, where they're playing, and what time they're playing. That's, of course, so important. So texasfootball.com/playoffs, we've got you covered from stem to stern. Thought number 2. All college football is bad.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. So we're a little bit later, we're going to do our power poll where we rank the 12 FBS teams in the Lone Star State. But I will tell you that the top 2 in the past week lost.
Yeah.
And honestly, they didn't look good doing it.
No.
Texas A&M goes to Mississippi State and loses. And Mississippi State is not very good.
No.
Like this isn't some world beater. This isn't some team that's better than their record indicates.
Yep.
Like they came into this game and I think they were 3-4, right?
Right.
I think they were 3-4 or some.
Or
sort
no, 2-5, right?
2-5.
And they have 3-5 now.
Yeah, they came into this game 2-5.
Yep.
And they mollywopped A&M. No, they were 3-5. They're now 4-5.
They're now 4-5.
They're 3-5.
Okay.
They came in and this isn't a fluke.
Yeah.
Mississippi State was the better team. And that's super, super disappointing considering we thought A&M was one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the country.
Yeah, no, and the one thing, and I know you're not going to like this, to be fair to A&M, Trevor Knight was hurt for most of the game.
Agreed.
That sucks.
Now,
that was bad timing.
True, and that's bad timing.
That's a team they should still beat.
That's a team they should still beat, and Jake Hubenak came in, and it's not like Trevor Knight was lighting the world on fire when he was in the game.
I get that. Yeah.
But they go to Mississippi State and they lay an egg. That's what they did. The defense looked like they had never.
I think that's the weird thing, right?
The defense
they surrendered that many points to Mississippi State seemed baffling.
They looked like they had never defended the zone read before.
Yeah.
Nick Fitzgerald, the quarterback, ran for 182 yards. Yeah. Their running back, Aris Williams, ran for 140. I mean, this team, and this is not a team that runs the ball well.
No.
They were like 88th in the country in running the ball, and then they torched them.
Yeah.
You can look at the offense and say, okay, the offense didn't do its part. I thought that, Christian Kirk did his best to basically single-handedly keep them in this game. But they ended up just pooping all over themselves. And now they're out of the college football playoff. And like all those dreams we were having of like, okay, if they win out and then they just get a little bit of chaos ahead of them, then they're going to be in. No, it's not going to happen. The other one's Baylor.
Yeah.
And now I want to give some credit here because I think TCU finally put together a complete game.
Yeah.
We have been so critical of them because they can't put together 4 consecutive quarters of good football. Yeah. Here, from the opening gun to the final buzzer, it was all Horned Frogs.
Yeah. And they did it, honestly, without Kenny Hill having to do much with his arm. It was mostly with his legs.
No, Kenny Hill was...
Kyle Hicks was the star.
Kenny Hill was fine, but the star here is Kyle Hicks. We'll get to him in a moment, but Kyle Hicks was incredible. But for Baylor, we said coming into this game that there was major tailspin potential for both of these teams.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Baylor looks like a team in free fall.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like everything's coming to head. All the distractions around the program outside are starting to add up at the wrong time for them.
Seth Russell looked awful. It just the defense was terrible.
There's no rushing attack.
No.
TCU completely shut down that ground game.
Exactly. They ran for 133 yards on 45 carries.
Baylor, coming into that game, Baylor was like number 4 in the nation in rushing attack, and they were completely
Now, it's pretty clear that Shock Linwood's banged up. He only carried the ball 6 times. Right. But at the same time, you should be able to run on TCU. And they didn't. Again, a lot of credit to TCU, but Baylor looked like a team in free fall. And thought number 3, pound for pound. So last year, in high school football, we had a big talking point around these parts. Was who is the best pound-for-pound team in the state? And we ended up settling on 2 teams.
Yep.
Canadian in 2A, the 2A Division I champs, and Katy, the 6A Division II champs, who both just dominated.
Yeah, they cruised.
So the question now, who is the best pound-for-pound team in Texas?
Yeah.
And I think after this week, we're now through the regular season.
Yep.
I've come up with 4. I think there's 4 options here. Now, the playoffs will obviously tell the tale, but there are 4 options heading into this that I think you could reasonably make. 1 is Richland Springs.
Yeah.
Down in 1A Division II. I think they're the best 6-man team on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And they are just humdrumming people.
Yeah.
It is incredible. West Orange Stark is another. 4A Division II.
Yeah.
They look even better than the team that beat that won a title last year. They look more dominant.
Yeah.
That's saying
the experience is showing. Yeah.
The quiet team here is Newton.
Yeah.
Newton in 3A Division II has been unchallenged.
Yep.
They are throttling people.
Yep.
Newton has an argument for being the best pound-for-pound team in Texas. But after this week, there is one team that I think you can say is the best pound-for-pound team in Texas.
I'm right there with you.
And that is the Refugio Bobcats.
Yeah, man.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
They
good luck.
Mollywopped a good Shiner team.
Good luck to the rest of 2A Division I.
In Shiner.
You're going to need it.
This was Jason Herring saying, come get us.
Yeah.
This was as dominant a performance as you may see all year. The Refugio Bobcats, if I had to pick right now, and again, the playoffs will tell the tale.
Sure.
If I had to pick right now, the Refugio Bobcats are the best pound-for-pound team in Texas.
Yeah, I think so.
3 helmet stickers. How about we can do this every week? Bailey Zappi, the quarterback the quarterback for Victoria East, 492 yards and 5 touchdowns passing, another touchdown on the ground. Big game for Bailey Zappi. Yeah. TCU running back Kyle Hicks, we mentioned it. 26 carries, 192 yards, 5 touchdowns, and more importantly, he was so elusive.
Yeah.
And this is what Kenny Hill needs. That I've now gotten to the point where Kenny Hill's not going to be the savior. If you're asking Kenny Hill to go out there and win the game for you, that's bad news.
Yeah.
That's not a position you want to be in. But when Kyle Hicks gets going, boy, howdy, he's special. And he was special against Baylor. And Denison running back Trey Lyday. 308 yards and 5 touchdowns in Denison's win over Sherman in the Battle of the Axe. Impressive for Trey Lyday. 3 teams to watch. How about the Richmond George Ranch Longhorns?
That's a nice way to finish the season.
My goodness. For an up and down year for the Longhorns. Talk about momentum heading into the playoffs as they take down previously unbeaten A-Leaf Taylor 35-34 in overtime.
Yep.
Really impressive stuff from George Ranch. Look, maybe you squint and say maybe they're just hitting their stride at the right time. I don't know. I still have questions, but definitely a team to watch.
Yeah.
The Texas Longhorns. Now they've strung together 2 straight wins. They go on the road and they beat Tech.
Comfortably.
Dante Foreman's worked himself into at least a peripheral Heisman candidacy. This is a team that may be figuring it out. Maybe. We'll see. And Dimmitt. We'll talk about Dimmitt. We're going to talk to their head coach, Steve Gunner, here in a minute. But Dimmitt dancing for the first time in 40 years. 3 teams to worry about. Well, you don't have to worry about them anymore with Waxahachie for the 2nd straight year. Last year, they got beat by a coin flip. This year, they get beat by Mansfield Lake Ridge in a tight one.
It was a great game.
It was.
They gave them all they could.
They sure did, but in the end, it's Lake Ridge who gets the win, and Waxahachie is once again on the outside looking in. You feel bad for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's 2 years in a row that the people that, like I always say, the people who complain that too many teams make the playoffs. Well, here's a team that is a lot better than a lot of teams that are making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Rice.
You had to watch this one?
I watched this whole thing. I watched the whole.
I'm sorry.
Game. I have. When we do the power poll a little later, 12:45. I've got some thoughts.
Okay.
And Shiner. I mean, on one hand, that's a really good team.
What are they supposed to do?
And on the other hand, here's the problem: is that's that same region. Okay, you're gonna have to go through them to get to a title game.
Yeah. Hey, at least now you know what you're up against.
Exactly.
Maybe you can come up with a different plan next time.
That's Monday Morning Fallout.